Happy Art Day! This week is our special Spirit Week, and we are going to be doing some really cool stuff. I'm so excited! We're going to be trying out lots of different painting techniques for us splatter painting. We're going to talk a little bit about an artist that did lots of splatter paintings. His name was Jackson Pollock. And Jackson Pollock loved to just drip paint everywhere and make it kind of messy and make it a little crazy, and it was so cool in the end. Let's get started. Okay, the first thing that we want to do is cover our working area so that way we don't get paint everywhere, because paint is gonna get everywhere. I am going to use this little table cover I got from the dollar store. You can use an old sheet or a drop cloth or a piece of canvas, however you want to cover your area. I'm going to be working outside so I don't get anything inside my house. So I'm going to go ahead and put this down and we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so I have my area covered. If you want to work in the grass and your parents are okay with you doing your splatter paint in the grass, that would be totally fine and so much easier than what I'm doing. I just don't really want to work in the grass. Okay guys, we have protected our workspace. Now we have to protect us. I'm going to be wearing an apron. That way I don't get paint on my clothes, and it would be best if you change into something that you don't really mind getting a little bit messy. You should be using washable paint, so hopefully it will wash out anyway, but just in case, wear something like an apron to cover your clothes. I have a quick hack for those of you who don't have any aprons, or maybe you don't have any clothes that you're okay with getting a little messy. All you have to do is take a trash bag and poke armholes and a head hole through it, and you've got an apron. Our next step is to get our paper ready. Now, you can use any kind of paper you want. I'm gonna be using these two big white sheets of paper. If you have poster board, that would be awesome, because then your splatter painting would be so much bigger than a regular sheet of paper. If you just have regular sheets of paper, that is totally fine. This works just the same. In fact, you can even use paper that's colored, that isn't just white. Maybe you wanna do a color background, that'd be really cool. Make sure that whatever paper or poster you're using, you tape it down. You can even do a double-sided tape and put it on the back so that way your paper doesn't fly away, especially if you're painting outside like me and there's lots of wind. I like to use pieces of tape and then roll them like this so that the sticky side is facing out. It's kind of hard to do one-handed. There we go. And then I like to stick one on each of the four corners of my paper. After you tape all four corners of your paper, you can turn your paper over and press it down so that the paper does not fly away while you're painting. All right guys, here are the other things that you're gonna need for your splatter painting. First, we want to have some kind of paper towel or wipe in case we have any big spills or we get any on our clothes or somewhere it shouldn't be, we can wipe it off. The next thing you need to have is some kind of cup, so that way you can mix your paint, especially when the paint needs a little bit of water to have that extra splatter. You also need paint. It needs to be washable paint, so make sure it says washable on your paint somewhere. The last thing you're gonna need are your splatter materials and some water. The water is gonna help thin the paint out, and your splatter materials are gonna help make a really fun splatter painting. I want to make a heart for one of my splatter paintings. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my paper that's folded in half already, and I'm going to cut a shape out of it, and when we open it up, it's going to be a heart. Some of you guys already did this project for your Mother's Day activity, but this is all you do. You open it up and wow, look at that heart. I'm going to be taping this down in the middle of one of my sheets of paper, so that way the paint won't get underneath this heart, and when we're finished, you'll get to see the end result. Okay, I'm going to start with what I think is the most fun splatter technique. I'm going to take some paint and put it in a cup, and then I want to add a little bit of water. The water is going to make the paint a little bit more liquidy. so that it splatters more. I'm gonna take my brush and stir it around. Stir, stir, stir. Ooh, that is pretty liquidy. I like to stir until I don't see any of those little paint chunks inside of my cup. Wow, that turned out really nice. I'm gonna keep that in this cup, and I'm gonna go ahead and do a different color. Okay guys, here is where the fun part comes in. What I did is I took 3 eggs. You can use however many after you talk to your parents, use what they suggest, but I used 3, and I emptied the egg part so that there's just a little hole here. You see how most of our shell is still all together, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fill each one of these eggs with the paint that we just mixed up. I'm so excited to show you what happens when we get to throw the egg at the paper. I'm gonna start filling my egg with paint. This would be great if you had somebody to help you with this, because it can be very messy and a little tricky to get the paint inside the egg. Alright guys, I have my 3 eggs filled with paint. We are going to see what it looks like. Make sure you're standing back whenever you throw the egg at the paper. You don't want to get any on your clothes or your shoes. Here we go. Wow, that is a splatter. Here's the other one. Oh my goodness. Last one is the blue one. Go on this side. Wow. What do you think, guys? It is messy, but it's super cool. Okay guys, this next one is gonna be a little tricky. I'm gonna be using balloons, and I'm going to fill them a little bit with paint. So I've already mixed up 2 more colors, yellow and green. So let's see how this goes. You really need somebody to help you with this. In fact, I wish I had somebody to help me because I need to keep this balloon open while I pour it in. All right, here comes the balloon splatter. Here's what we're gonna do. One thing you could do is take your balloons and throw them at the paper, but I've had trouble with my balloons breaking. So what I'm gonna do instead is take a stick pin or a safety pin, and I'm gonna poke a small hole in the very tip, and then I'm gonna squeeze. But I've gotta be ready when I poke my hole to squeeze, because it's gonna come out fast. When I tried the pin trick, it didn't really work. So I'm gonna take the very tip of the balloon and I'm gonna make just a tiny, tiny little cut. So tiny. And then I'm gonna squeeze. Here we go. Wow. That is so cool. All right, there is our yellow. Let's try the green. Gonna make a small, very small hole with my scissors. It takes a little patience. There we go. Woo! Look at that. Okay, the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to try to make some cool splatter marks with some of the little tools that I found around the house. One of the things that I think would make a really cool mark is a kitchen whisk. So if you have a kitchen whisk and you've gotten permission from your parents, then you could use that. You could use any other kind of kitchen tool or anything that you think would be a really cool mark if you slung paint with it. Here we go. And we're ready to splatter. I'm gonna take my whisk, wiggle it around. I'm gonna come over here on the side and sling it. That is fun. This makes a much different mark. You see how this is a little bit more like dots? I really want some on the side because a lot of the white paper is showing through. Wow, that's turning out so cool. Mixing myself up a little bit of light blue. And I'm gonna whisk that on too. Here we go. That's a cool color. If you have any leftover paint, you can do exactly what Jackson Pollock did. He actually poured his paint out of cups onto his canvas. So I've got some yellow and blue left over. I'm gonna pour a little bit of that on. And I wanna pour from way up high so that it has this really cool drip effect. Look at how cool that is. Let me go over here with the blue. Ooh. That's cool. Let's see what other colors I have left. This is our last technique. So let's just see what there is. Okay guys, that's it for our splatter painting. We're gonna wanna let our splatter painting dry for quite a while. You might even have to let it dry overnight. That's why I liked to do mine outside, but there's still a roof over my deck, so that way I don't have to worry if it rains. After it's dry, I'm gonna show you the final result. I cannot wait. Creating splatter paintings like Jackson Pollock is so much fun. Scroll through the slideshow to see more techniques like flicking a brush with your finger to splatter paint, using a straw to blow paint, taking a CD, a pencil, and rubber bands to create your very own top spinner that splatters paint as it spins, using cotton rounds with paint underneath and smacking it with a hammer, using spray bottles and water guns to create splatters on your paper. And if you feel like being extra fancy, you can paint your canvas black and then try to do splatters on top. It's going to show out so bright and almost like neon dots on your black paper. In fact, I bet you could create something that looks like a galaxy with a black background. These are the results of my splatter painting. Unfortunately, I didn't tape my heart down well enough so that the paint wouldn't seep underneath. You might try using actual tape to create your design and then sticking the tape directly onto your paper. So that way, after you finish painting, you can carefully peel the tape off and it will reveal the pattern underneath. Be careful to make sure that your painting is completely dry before you do this, or the tape will peel some of the paper off. The next paper turned out much cooler. I didn't do the design on this one, but you can see all of the different splatters and how they're overlapping each other. Some of the colors mixed together to create new colors, and so it turned out super cool. I hope you had fun with this Jackson Pollock splatter painting, and I hope you continue to do more splatter paintings and experiment with other techniques. Don't forget to upload pictures of your splatter painting and your Rainbow Day outfit to Padlet. You can see the Padlet link on my classroom page. Just click the link, type in the password, and upload your pictures or videos of your fun Spirit Day activity. I can't wait to see them. Have a great week!